Good morning, everybody. It's just about 10:30 in the morning on the 28th of October, 2025, and it's Tuesday. And I thought I would, let me change this around a little bit here. Thought I would show you guys this area. I haven't been here for quite some time. As you see, there's still people working here. There's a parking garage, just a new housing place, a lot of apartment building and apartments. Like parking garage, two of them over there. Looks like that's not open. As you see, they're still doing construction there. Some guy used the bathroom. Looks like there's a business opened up in this. I don't know how many of these apartments here in this place are sold already or not. Let me take a walk around here. Some sort of a business. But anyway, yesterday, that area that I took you there, it seems I found out a lot of those people that live in those houses, those really nice houses, are Russians, a lot of wealthier Russians. Some kind of a salon here. Manicure. I guess you can get a manicure here. Hey! But yeah, I would imagine a lot of them live in Russia, but that's probably one reason for the high walls around them. Maybe they have somebody watching them, of course. And well, anyway. So you make some good wages in Russia. So, you know, the wages are a little bit smaller here, unless you're in IT. If you're working like with computers and things like that, and of course, or if you have your business, maybe there's other ways to make decent money in Belarus, but instead it's kind of spread out a little bit. I guess you can say it's a little bit more like socialism. So you don't make huge money most of the time. Even doctors, I guess how it is with doctors, I've heard. I cannot actually swear to this, but I guess when you're maybe even in school, you get an apartment, you get given an apartment, and you get a whole bunch of benefits, and your pay is not super high. Unless you go, of course, into private practice. You know, but there's a lot of them in government service. But you know, you're taken care of. And I've talked a little bit to one doctor, and she was pretty dedicated for many years. And of course, you get a nice house. She had a nice house, I suppose. I had never been there, of course, but I don't know. I was just talking with one. But anyhow, there's some from different countries, of course, practicing medicine here. Like met some guy spoke pretty good English, and he's from Lebanon. He wants to meet because he wants to speak more English. Anyway, so you don't see so much going on around here. So a lot of these are empty, and what a lot of Belarusians even do is there's a lot that have a lot of money, and they buy apartments and they rent them out for people for weekends and things. These apartments around here, I would say it's maybe 15-minute walk away from Magalovskaya metro stop, which is on the red line. It's actually in that direction where I'm pointing at the moment. But of course you gotta go on the main street. I don't know, maybe there's some side streets here too. It's not like a place I hang out. It's that same apartment, or the same parking garage. Let me go around on the other side of that. I'll be talking about some news, sure. So one thing I wanted to mention is I forgot yesterday to mention somebody had written, it was Ben Blasha, I guess his name, and he was asking me if I knew this Curtis Yarkin, and I never heard of him, and I looked him up, and apparently they call him a right-wing, or I think it was a far-right blogger. You know, I don't know what far-right is or left anymore, and a lot of people, they might have a combination of what is considered left and right altogether. I don't know, I don't really like to use those things. You know, leftist and a rightist and all that. Used to be a leftist was kind of like socialist, or like for communism or things like that, and I don't really even know anymore, you know. And you would say like somebody, who is it, like Jackson Hinkle, who says he's a communist, and yet he is far more pro-Trump, who isn't a communist and hates communism. And a lot of the things that Jackson Hinkle likes are things that Donald Trump likes. So what is left and what is right? I don't know. And I don't know. I'm not even going to talk about it because it doesn't make any sense. So I don't like to put these labels on things like that. You putting a jacket on me? Calling it a jacket a lot of times. There's another business. What is this? There's a supermarket. It's already been in operation, maybe quite a few months, a little ways from here. Looks like they're going to put another big apartment building over here. C, Studio Ideal. Whatever that means, all in English. Makes me wonder. I know more what the Russian, what they do there than I do in this. Maybe it's a place to get your hair cut. Looks like this might be blocked off over here. I'll just walk anyway. But it looks like, I would say, maybe starting around springtime, most all of this stuff will be jumping. All the garages here will be open. It looks to me like it's mostly finished. These buildings, I think when you get an apartment, you gotta do a lot of the finishing inside yourself. It's all concrete. I'm not positive. So looks like nothing but a bunch of noise over here, so I don't know. Let me just go a little bit closer. Are they putting down a foundation? You never know. There might be you never know. It might be the school here, or it doesn't look like they need any more parking garages, because there is parking on the street, and then they have these big things here. Most of the time they never have that. Looks like I don't know. I'd like to go see what that business over there is, if it's another beauty salon. But anyway, let me get on to the news here. There's not really a lot of significant news that has come out yet the past day since I made yesterday's video. But there is one thing that is quite significant, and I don't know if it's actually is true or not. I haven't heard any comment from the United States yet, but apparently Venezuela caught some CIA operatives, spies, which it probably was CIA. You never know. There's supposed to be many of these agencies, and I've known some, and I gotta look maybe in my papers and see some of the the alphabet, what their names were, or something. Like I had taken some people around when I was in Europe from some agencies, and they were some of the nicest people I'd known. At least when I was taking people on tour around in different places in Germany back in the 1980s. Very good people. And they were like the top people in some spy agency or intelligence agency, excuse me. Just wanted to see what this business is over here. Looks like somebody lives there. Somebody went inside. Something gold. Lakshmi gold. With a artwork of a naked lady there. Manicure. Another manicure place. Oh man. Aparatnia. Olas. Is that? I don't know. I wonder if that's doing like your lip operations and stuff like that. It looks like something like that. Maybe it's some what do you call that? Cosmetic surgery, apparently. Anyway, so let's keep going on some of the news. There's not that much. Like I said, it'll be a little bit of a shorter video here. And anyway, these spies that Venezuela caught, apparently they were going to make a false flag somewhere in the waters near off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago. And even though I lived in the Caribbean and I did want to go there, I never went to Trinidad and Tobago. I only knew people that were from there, and people from Guyana and all kinds of places like that. You hear a lot about this. Matter of fact, some were in coffee in Trinidad and Tobago. And Trinidad and Tobago, they have this company there. It's they buy coffee from coffee farmers. I don't even remember the name of it. And these people that I knew, they used to sell coffee to them. And of course, a lot of these companies like Folgers and Maxwell House and all of that, they don't grow coffee. They buy it from others. And sometime you might actually notice it when you're drinking some of those coffee. I'm not sure about Folgers necessarily myself, but it's never that great a quality. But once in a while I had some from Maxwell House, and I was shocked. It was quite good. So it was probably they got a big load of coffee from somebody who actually processes it, or picks it. It does something very good on their own. Now, I know that Maxwell House, they have roasting a lot of time. They have fluid bed roasters, which means hot air, and it's the coffee is blown around, with hot air, roasting the coffee. A lot of time. That's invented by some guy. I can't remember the name for sure. And I'd met somebody who used to be his dentist. The guy that invented that in Corvallis, Oregon. But anyway, I want to say Michael Sivitz, maybe. And that technology is used a lot. As a matter of fact, I had a fluid bed roaster. Other than fluid bed roasters, you have drum roasters, and drum roasters is just they have some heat, probably from propane, I guess, normally, and it just rolls around inside there, and the coffee. But the other one with the fluid bed roaster, it's flying around in the hot air. It's like what do you have, those air popcorn poppers, something like that. And it's in my opinion, they roast more evenly, and that's one reason why, in my opinion, that my coffee was very good. And I had a lot of people I don't even know, a lot of very rich and big celebrities and famous people drink it, and I don't even know all of them. I only just know Bryan Adams and Mick Jagger and the royal family and Tommy Hilfiger, and I think that's the only ones that I really know of, but there were more, of course. And anyway, I don't want to get into coffee again. You guys, I talked a lot about it the other day. Some of you aren't interested in that very much at all. Some of you are. But let's say, anyway, about this guy. I got sidetracked again. I was talking that this Yarvin, Yarkin? His name, yeah, Curtis Yarvin. And he seems like he's quite an intellectual guy, but he's, and I don't know if he went to or he's a professor at Brown University. And he was influenced by somebody, Thomas Carlyle, I think in the 19th century, because I knew the name. I said, oh, I know that guy. And he's a very intellectual and a thinker into philosophy a lot, and in history, of course. And he wrote this book series, I think it's called History of Frederick the Great, or so he knows a lot about Prussia, and that was like my area of study, and that's why I know the name Thomas Carlyle. And the philosophy that comes in, because Frederick the Great, he had another title called the Philosopher King, and he had a very good relationship for a long time. I mean, a friendship. No, he wasn't dating. A good friendship with Voltaire. And Voltaire, I remember he wrote one of his writings was a very small book called Candide. I think another title, Candide or Optimism. And he criticizes Frederick the Great in a little bit, because they kind of had an outing somehow. And maybe, like Elon Musk and Donald Trump, so like a little bit of a differences in their egos or something like that. And then he was talking, and the recruiters for Frederick the Great at that time, they were probably the precursors of Zelensky, because they used to go around and push people into conscription to be soldiers in the Prussian army, and the Prussian drill, and Prussian militarism and all that back in those days. That was really something. They were the very best on the continent, were the Prussian soldiers doing the Prussian drill. And Frederick the Great, of course, was a very great military strategist. And when Napoleon was attacking, and I've talked about that too, when he came into like Belarus and where he was defeated in Belarus the first time and had to stick his tail between his legs and run back to Western Europe. But Napoleon, Frederick the Great's body used to be, I think it was in Potsdam at one time, and when there was a split after World War II, where the eastern zone was going to be belonging to Russia, American soldiers were sent into Potsdam to take the coffin of Frederick the Great and to bring it to the West. And a lot of people never heard about this. That's one of the good things, I guess, Americans were doing, I guess, too. And it's like, oh, is it a big tourist attraction, Frederick the Great's dead body or something, or his coffin? And anyway, they brought it to the West, and I had gone to a place where that is at. It's Hohenzollern Castle. And Hohenzollern that's the name of the royal family, and of course they had some small holding up in Kleve, which is right on the border of Holland, up in the top, and they had some other little places as well. But the main castle of the Hohenzollern family it's in the Swabian Alps, I guess you could say. It's south of Tübingen. It's in the area of Stuttgart and Tübingen and Esslingen and all that. But you can look it up online, Hohenzollern Castle. Very beautiful. It's like a fairy tale castle. And the strange thing is, when Americans or even people from the West go to Germany, they don't even know about this. So nobody goes there. They go to Neuschwanstein, Nymphenburg and places like that around Munich, and the regular stuff. But not very many Western type other people, except for Germans, go to Hohenzollern Castle. It's absolutely amazing. So you don't have that many buses going there and things, and they have the it will shock you. If you're going to go to Germany, you should go there. You really should go there. They have what you might call the royal jewels of Germany are there. The scepter, the diamond-studded scepter, and then of course they got the armor and things like that. Very, very interesting place. It's up. You got to take a bus up there for the most part. It's maybe a big walk if you go uphill on your own. And there's a big church in where is it? Oh, Heckingen. Heckingen is the town that's closest to Burg Hohenzollern, Hohenzollern Castle. So but there's I think some of the icons are maybe part of the cross that Jesus was supposed to be crucified on or whatever is in this small church in Heckingen. Very nice church too. You go inside. I'm doing a big tourist thing for Germany. Like I said, there's not that much news, so I'm throwing all this stuff in here. And no, but very picturesque castle. Just so look that one up online, and if you're like from the U.S. or someplace, and that's not on your radar, you really, really should go there and take a tour. And the royal family, believe it or not, still lives out of Hohenzollern Castle. And that was, the Kaisers and things, and the emperors and Frederick the Great. That was the family. That's the Hohenzollern family. That it's through there, and it's a very, very prominent family, and it's a fabulous history. That's one reason why I studied it, and it's I don't even know anything for sure anymore. I mean, I might get some little errors, so I'm not going to be going too much more into that, and I guess I'll just leave it at that. So okay, but yeah, like I said, Thomas Carlyle, also quite an intellectual, and it looks like this Yarkin, Curtis Yarkin, or Yarvin. Wow. He's quite an intellectual too. I don't know what he said. When somebody calls you far right, and they're trying to imply that you're a Nazi or something like that. I highly, highly doubt that. Sometimes they're exact opposite of being a Nazi. That's why I don't like these titles, because they're totally misleading. It's because maybe he doesn't. He's not a homosexual or something. I don't know. So. Oh, when I said when Napoleon, when he came through, here I cut myself off again. When Napoleon was going through and went through Prussia on his way to, try to defeat Russia, he had all of his generals come to the coffin of Frederick the Great and said, like, gentlemen, remove your helmets, remove your hats. And he says, if this king or if this man were alive today, we wouldn't be here right now. In other words, he's saying that Frederick the Great would have kicked his ass if he dared to invade Prussia. So, just so you know that, he very much respected it. Obviously, the Americans must have respected Frederick the Great as well, so that's why they took his body to Western Germany. So you might want to look a little bit in the history of Frederick the Great. There's another very great Hohenzollern, that came back over 100 years before that. It was Frederick William. He's called also the Great Elector, and He's the guy I think I mentioned already before. He's the one that actually invented what the Americans called the Pony Express, but he did it back in like about 1630, about the year 1630, a little bit earlier. America was just getting started to get settled back then. I think the first permanent colony was 1607 from Jamestown. So, and the Pilgrims, they got there about 1620 to Plymouth Rock. So anyway, let's keep going here. So it's probably why you don't hear about this Curtis Yarvin, because he's an intellectual, and they try to downplay a lot of intellectuals today. And I don't understand why that. Still, we get Annalena Baerbock, and brilliant people like what's his name, Gavin Newsom, or yeah, some of these guys. I don't know. Or Bolton, Hillary Clinton, or Kamala Harris. These tremendous super brain intellectuals. So I don't know. There doesn't seem to be any more intellectuals today than there was even back in those old days. You know, I mean, even though the population has gone into the billions. Anyhow, maybe they just downplay him. Lindsey Graham, that's another big intellectual. Anyway. Okay, Candace Owens. Actually, she's a very smart lady, very young, and she released more text messages. She was on vacation in Wyoming. I saw, a video from her, and I guess maybe that kind of, she started maybe looking through some old text messages or something like that. But she released more text messages and some photos of her with Charlie Kirk, in some of those times when she was working for Turning Point USA. And I think for 8 years or 6 years or something, she said she worked there. And in this video that she put out, is called Setting the Bait, and has to do with a lot of these people doing some garbage. I don't want to go there. But anyhow, and she put out a message exchange, and it looks like that Charlie Kirk was, for the most part, predicting his death. You have to see the video to find out about that. I think it's toward the middle of the video, and she's talking about this and shows the text messages. And she says that they can verify that her so-called enemies, which they probably are. Looks like she's making a lot of enemies, and she said she's ready for it. Wow. Like I said, well, I can't say that on YouTube necessarily. I can, but might be some people and their children listening. But she's got a lot more family jewels than a lot of men, I think, is what I was going to say. So he was even kind of saying that she should carry on after him, that she and alluded that she is the only one that he can really trust a lot of time in this thing. It's interesting, and I guess these are verifiable text messages, that it's undeniably true that they actually do exist, and that is an actual exchange. So it's not like she's trying to take over Turning Point USA or something like that. Okay, former U.S. ambassador, probably to Venezuela. I don't know, did they say his name? Doesn't important anyway. And he was on an interview with 60 Minutes, saying that Maduro that sounds like somebody put this guy up to it. Maduro's a bad guy, and he has all these resources, and is friends with U.S. strategic competitors. Basically, what the guy is saying, that Maduro has so many resources, we gotta knock him off, and we gotta get in there and take those resources, and therefore he's a bad guy. And that is undeniably, that is the playbook of the United States, and it always is. And I have to keep coming back to what Lavrov said and Vladimir Putin said, and it's absolutely true. And you see this very often. If you keep this in your head whenever you see these statements from either Vladimir Putin and Lavrov, or anybody over in Russia, as well as looking at all of these statements from the officials in the United States government, I think Lavrov, he summed it up very good when he said that the United States goes to war for resources and Russia goes to war for people. And in other words, the United States wants the money, and Russia, for the most part, actually wants stability and peace. So, and that's pretty true. I guess I don't know. So when you see what's going on is when all those people were getting killed in eastern Ukraine, and that's when Russia came in, and the United States, they just want to go, they're just going for resources, just like when they're now getting ready to attack Venezuela. So you see it yourself. This is pretty strange. Look at this, the street here. You got all these modern, big, massive buildings here, and then there's some older things. Looks like somebody kind of was right in the middle of a renovation here and maybe put it on stop or something. Maybe doesn't look like it was much of a good renovation. A little piece at a time, probably. Yeah, I guess if that's all you can afford. Anyhow, big house. Do they have new windows? I don't know. I shouldn't be going around and look at this. Wow. Okay, what else do we have here? Israel Finance Minister Smotrich, really nasty guy. There's a huge amount of these nasty people in Israel, as you all know. And it's, of course, he was talking in whatever his language is, Hebrew or Yiddish or whatever the heck the stuff is. And he was saying that basically the world has no right to stand in the way of Israel getting its inheritance. And its inheritance meaning Eretz Israel. And that means that God gave them that land, like they always say. These people are so incredibly, I don't know, brainwashed, and they're indoctrinated into thinking with their arrogance that God gave them that land. You can go look at the contract and see God's signature right down there, according to them. It's terrible. It's really terrible. So they have the right to kick off and kill, I guess, Palestinians or any peoples anywhere. And there was something about saying that he had some kind of something about camels and on the Saudi Arabians. And I guess some people, I saw some kind of information now that Israel is looking at Saudi Arabia, or maybe part of it, as being part of Eretz Israel. Eretz Israel. It's taken over a huge amount of I think it was at least the bottom half, the southern half of Lebanon, and maybe even the entire Jordan, and of course all of Palestine, the West Bank, everything, and lots of other places. I don't even know myself, but just huge areas, and it looks like now they're adding in Saudi Arabia. It's sort of like Ukraine. Ukrainians believe they have a right to a large portion of Russia as well. And it's very strange that the United States backs these people. I guess it's to achieve their goals and their desires, whatever the United States might want to take. Yeah. So I guess that's Eretz Israel now. I guess they're putting Saudi Arabia along in that. Wow. I guess he was made to apologize recently, a day or so ago, and now he went right back again. Basically, he did it because he was pressured into doing so. Maybe when J.D. Vance was there or something. I have no idea. But some really nasty stuff. I'll tell you what, you got these people, and they firmly believe that they own parts of other countries and that they have these certain rights, or that other people are inferiors and they need to be exterminated, something like that. What is it? Sterilize? I think from Star Trek or something, some computer. I don't know. And I'll tell you what, the WEF, they're moving in that direction too. They're going to say humans are not needed anymore. It's just like, well then what the heck? Anyway, very, very weird world. We're getting more and more into some weird things. So I guess maybe what are we going to have? The Ukrainians and the Israelis controlling machines to wipe out the rest of the world, I guess. Maybe that's what it's going to come down to. Who else are what about the exceptional people in America? And who are those exceptional people? Maybe, I don't even want to go there. I think they, as you know, they say that the Asians and the white people, they're the ones that need to be exterminated. So I don't know Anyway, I don't want to get there. That's getting into like some real racist kind of stuff. So anyhow, I guess that's all I have for right now. It's 30 minutes, a little bit over maybe. And I thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.